course of the past few weeks, Jesus has been teaching us in the gospel readings of those Sundays about the necessity of forgiveness for us. But then, what about God? How much does God forgive? How much should God forgive? The reading from the book of Jonah this morning takes off from a statement it actually quotes in today's psalm. The Lord is gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger, and of great kindness. The Lord is loving to everyone, and his compassion is over all his works. And the book of Jonah begins with the premise, don't you hate that? Don't you wish that God would join us and just wreak vengeance on our enemies? That's the basis of the book of Jonah. The book of Jonah is in fact a thought experiment. In the Hebrew Bible, Jonah is not one of the prophets. Not one of the prophets, because it is known that the book of Jonah is not the story of a person. It is a thought experiment. And the thought experiment is based on the understanding that, prophets often don't like being prophets. And that's why you have the story of Jonah trying to escape the commission that God gives him. God says, I want you to go to the city of Nineveh, get those people to repent. Jonah says, I'm not doing that. He runs away. That's what leads him to the ship, to the shipwreck, to the big fish, to being swallowed, to being regurgitated on land. It's the story of what happens when a prophet doesn't do what the prophet really has to do. And he gets to Nineveh, and he prophesies, because he has to do it. And wouldn't you know it, the people of Nineveh repent. And that's why Jonah says to God in today's lesson, I knew this. I knew you were gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger and of steadfast love, always willing to forgive. I hate that. And why would he hate that? Well, here we come to the other premise of the story. In addition to the premise that, being a prophet is not always a day at the beach, it's also that the most unimaginable evil God is capable of forgiving when there is repentance. Because in this thought experiment, which is at the core of the book of Jonah, those who framed the story picked the most horrendous enemy they could think of. Why? This Nineveh was the capital of the empire of the Assyrians. This was the empire that had swept into the northern kingdom of Israel, present-day Galilee and Samaria, and had totally destroyed it. Taken down all of their palaces, all of their temples, exiled the aristocrats of the land, and after they had done that, they imported some of their citizens from other parts of the empire. It was an act of what I call cultural genocide. What they wanted to do was eradicate Israel from that northern part, the more prosperous part of its land. That's why at a later time, Galilee would be called Galilee of the Nations. Galilee of the Nations, because of what the Assyrians had done. So when the book of Jonah imagines God sending a prophet to the Assyrians, it is putting in the strongest term possible the question, how much can, how much will God forgive? Jonah, of course, finds it impossible to sympathize with God until God shows Jonah something from his own experience. That little bit of shade coming from a plant. If you can so cherish that bit of shade, that small pleasure which comes your way in the midst of heat, if that, Jonah, will be a cause of your annoyance, don't you think that I, God, will become annoyed with my people when they don't like that I take pleasure in what I created? Nineveh is a great city, like it or not. If you don't like the people, look at the cattle, they're beautiful. Should we really wish to destroy these if they are willing to repent? God here is talking about himself as he is with people. And the psalm today reminds us that as he is with people is also as he is with nature. That life around us does not function by retribution. If you want retribution, that's fine, but the net result of retribution is not life. It is destruction, and it's death. So today, what we see revealed in the readings is why it is that God has been so insistent with us over the past few weeks about forgiveness, because that is also God's discipline. The discipline of loving is the willingness to forgive. Even in this thought experiment, in the case of the people of Nineveh. This book of Jonah was dear to Jesus when he wanted to refer to his own resurrection. He referred to the sign of the prophet Jonah. And in today's gospel, he basically takes the theme of Jonah and restates it in somewhat different terms. Instead of talking about on the grand political scale, as Jonah does, of Israel versus Nineveh, Jesus instead takes it down to the small scale of individuals. And believe it or not, people have a certain tendency to be envious of one another. To think that if someone else gets some reward, I should have that reward too, and maybe interest. To this, Jesus says, in today's translation, "Are you envious because I'm generous?" Oh, that's kind of a mouthful. It's not what Jesus said. What he says in the original Greek, which is a very good translation in turn of his Aramaic, is your eye evil because I am good? That is, when you see me doing good, does that cause you to look with the evil eye on the action? And what Jesus is telling us is, that's Jonah in us. When we expect God's grace to be parceled out only to people who merit it, do we suppose that we merit the grace of God? If grace is grace, we didn't merit it. We simply have. When we think that God's rewards should be parceled out according to virtue, is that how we got our talents? Did God make one a musician, another a poet, another an artist, another a singer, another a mathematician, because he wanted to reward them for their good works? I don't think that's the way God operates. God's forgiveness operates as a force of nature. because God is the force of nature. And the prophets, and the Psalms, and our Lord Jesus today combine to let us see that in all of its clarity. Now to God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, be ascribed, as is most justly due, all might, majesty, dominion, and power, this day and forevermore.